Traditions and customs are national treasure. Kazakh people observe traditions over many centuries. The Great Steppe is an amulet of the country. You can watch the customs and traditions of the Kazakhs in the Modern Nomads program. The Kazakh nation is an inheritor of nomads who inhabited the Great Steppe. Our nation has got ancient customs and culture. Our today's program is about the Kazakh family customs. Who is a relative? What does a family tree mean? What customs and traditions related to family and relatives have been preserved? We will search for answers to these questions. The Kazakh family fundamental customs originate from the tribal system. That is to say, people from one tribe are called relatives, where children of one grandfather are called brothers. At the beginning of the program, we would like to point out that telling about tribes does not refer to tribalism. Our aim is to explain continuous customs of blood relationship, in-law relationship, and maternal relationship.
Biz Қазақтар көшпелі халықпыз. Ең бірінші біздің айрықшылығымыз неде?
We Kazakhs are nomads. What is our first peculiarity? We are nomads. We have preserved the tribal system at this level that helped us to become such a nation and reach big aims. This tribal system is our mind and being. For example, Kazakhs do not marry a girl if she is a relative in one of the 7 generations. As you know, this is called incest in ethnology. In other words, it is a sexual relationship between close relatives. Thank God we have not got that. What does it mean? It means preserving purity of blood. The tribe has got its own age and period up to 7 generations, like a human's age. Up to 7 generations, it is still weak. Not getting married to a girl up to 7 generations is the first relationship custom. 7 generations are called a grandfather, father, child, grandchild, great-grandchild, great-great-grandchild, great-great-great-grandchild. Further generations are called Jurejat, Tuajat, Juragat, Jat-Juragat, Jegjat, Jamagai Ayin, and so on, which means you can marry or ask in marriage. By the relationship custom, blood relationship weakens. In old times, reaching this generation, they performed a special ceremony and separated a new kin.
Енді міне 8 жасқа дейін, 8 буынға дейін жақын адамдар бір атадан туған.
Relatives up to 8 generations having the same grandfather are now allowed to get married not to spoil the ethnogenetical code and purity of blood. The less we get married within 7 generations and the more distance of a girl's tribal line, the purer the blood. That is why it is very reasonable not to get married to a girl up to 7 generations. Genetics developed as a science only in the middle of the 20th century. Before that, there had been only investigations about genetics, but only in the current 20th century we pay a lot of attention to genetics. How come Kazakhs knew about genetical tendencies well? How did they feel it?
Генетикаға көп не мән беріп отырмыз. Сонда қарасаңыздар, сол көне заманда қазақ генетикалық үрдістерді қалай білген, қалай сезінген.
Discipline of 7 generations keeps relationships and brotherhood unity. Descendants of one ancestor lived as one community. They lived as brothers. People of the same tribe inhabit one area until the present day. Relatives within 7 generations had joined households, living conditions, pasture, and settlements. They supported each other in hardships, shared joy and grief with each other. The saying, "If you are relatives, you share everything together," appeared in that time. Relatives in young generation from one ancestor knows each other very well. Older and younger brothers, older and younger sisters respect each other and live in brotherhood because they are relatives within 7 generations. They are descendants of the same ancestor.
Мысалы, 8-ші буынға дейін рудың бұғанаға қатаймаған.
For example, this kin is weak up to 8 generations. They're not grown-ups yet. There's a beautiful Kazakh word, uyip, which means unite. After 8 generations, kinship feelings weaken due to the strengthening of blood, so it is possible to get married after the 8th generation.
санның күшею себебіне байланысты сондай процесстер болады. 8-ші буыннан кейін мысалы қыз алысуға болады. Және мәңгілік әлгі неде болмау керек қой енді, тыйым салынбау керек қой. Мәңгілік. Онда біз
After, there should not be everlasting prohibition. If there had been prohibition after that, demographic growth would have stopped. Here is the Kazakh wisdom. They did not get married up to 7 generations and let children marry from the 8th generation. So getting married from the 8th generation, blood gets pure, bones renew. Afterwards, it does not lead to physiological and genetic disability. I think this is the peculiarity of Kazakhs.
Генетикалық бір кемтарлық сондайға ұшыратпай, біздің қазақтың бір ерекшелігі осында деп мен есептеймін.
In Kazakh custom, people born from different ancestors also kept kinship customs. In the past centuries, old men caring about tribal unity exchanged boys to make kinship relationship. They did not take back the children. They did not even ask about them. They adapted to a new place and settled there. This helped to strengthen unity and kept agreement within a nation. Owing to this, the Kazakh steppe from Atrau to Altai has developed as one nation. This custom of the Kazakh endless steppe has been giving its fruits up to today.
Бұл қоғамның басты механизмі туыстық арқау.
The main mechanism of a society is to support relatives. If there are relatives, a man can live under the laws of society. He is able to adjust to a certain lifestyle. He is able to get spiritual food. Then he will be able to get food to strengthen his physical state. The man develops from all sides thanks to the kinship system. The kinship system elevates, fertilizes, develops, and perfects. In kinship system, the man is never alone. There is another man near him. There is always an old man near the man. Young women and daughters-in-law are always accompanied by their mothers and grandmothers. They hand on their life experience and give valuable advice. As a result, the society has not got any deviations.
Кемшіліктер болмайды қоғамда.
The kinship system of Kazakhs is the most flawless example of living in a society. There was not any enmity, theft, cattle lifting, barimta, and violence. According to unwritten rules, relatives did not steal cattle from each other. They supported and protected each other. Grandparents and parents bringing up their children to be brave and to be able to protect the honor of the nation and respect kinship relationship. If youth, descendants of the kin, had bad habits or undignified behavior, adults educated and brought them up. Kazakhs always prioritized agreement and peaceful relationship, which is why kinship relationship became our firm tradition in the culture of the nomads.
Ақселеу ағамызбен әңгімелесіп отырған кезде ру басы болу, руды басқару деген үлкен.
Once talking to Akseliu Jibek, I remembered his words like, being the head of the tribe and leading the kin was a big honor and big trust. At that time we were young and did not understand the meaning of those words. And today we see that there is such a custom indeed, because being the head of the kin for every aksakal meant to be responsible for the whole kinship system. For example, supporting orphans and widows, being responsible for their growth, development, and independent life to the society, managing the whole tribe, referred to the head of the kin. It is a big job, actually. As you know, even nowadays, in every aul there's a board of old men, Aksakaldar al-Kasi. I consider the board of old men as the right system that we inherited from ancient kinship structure. The priority interest of old men is the interest of the kin. The interest of the kin means the interest of the community and the interest of the nation. This is our ethnogenetical code.
Этногенетикалық үлкен код.
Our today's program touches on a very deep and delicate theme. However, it is not easy to make a program about a tribal kin being the base of kinship relationships. As we mentioned before, our program is not a propaganda of tribal relationships. Our nation cannot live without relatives. There was not any feast or toy without in-laws. Generations cannot multiply without relatives on the mother's side, called Nagashy and Jien. And this tradition of our nation related to kinship between people, its fruitful culture, and is a great achievement of the greatest Kazakh diplomacy in the Great Steppe.
Қазақта бүкіл жер рудың емделуінде болған.
All Kazakh land was property of the tribe. There was a very reasonable system. Any kin had their own winter, spring, summer, and autumn settlements. That was common for any kin of any tribe. If you read Abai, all is described well in his poetry. He wrote, "He spoiled grass in my land, didn't he?" He expressed himself very finely. As you understood, there were fixed boundaries which you could not cross. For instance, Kazakhs were not allowed to step on someone else's territory. All was divided and defined. Cemeteries served as a peculiar boundary and border of lands. Graves of our ancestors were the sign and symbol of such a boundary. Every tribe had its own allotted land. That is why the tribe used only its land and nomadized within its boundaries.
Белгісі біздің кореялардың бейіті. Рудың меншігі болған жер. Сол себептен ру өзінің жерін ғана емделіп, сол жерде көшіп қонып жүрген.
The custom of the United Nations and far lands was marriage of a son or a daughter. Our nation let a couple marry after careful examination of their origin, what tribe they came from. They chose carefully, taking their ancestors and parents, father and mother into consideration. Everyone dreamt of a daughter-in-law from a big and noble kin, good background and honorable family. Great people such as bis or judges and orators, poets and narrators all had noble origin. Apparently, among the people there was a proverb, "If you find a match, give for nothing." And in ancient society, Kazakhs paid special attention to the background of the daughter-in-law. They would marry girls from far away. As a result of such matchmaking, blood of the kin became pure and renewed. New generations were born healthy and children were physically strong. Marrying a girl with a good background meant reinforcing reproductive power of blood. Kazakhs paid great attention to the origin. There was an expression like tikti jir, noble origin, which meant from a noble family, having good origin. Where did Abai come from? He came from a noble and well-known kin. Going into details, an image of the singer Jibek with a ringing voice stands behind him. Abai's kin originates from his ancestor Anet. As you see, they're all descendants of noble kins. Next generations are better than the previous ones. As Kazakhs say, equal with equal. Any Kazakh will never say he comes from a bad kin, as any kin has a good background indeed. Moreover, a Kazakh would never say, "Your kin is lower than mine." It is totally wrong, as any Kazakh has a strong background. However, there is a special origin among good ones.
Дұрыс нәрсе емес ол. Өйткені қайсы бір қазақтың баласы текті, бірақ та сол тектілердің ішінде тектілер болады.
The main condition of matchmaking is that there must not be any close kinship. The meaning of the expression, "Pay attention to the origin and kin," speaks for itself. There was a custom to cancel matchmaking within 7 generations. However, should such relationship happen between relatives, this issue was resolved by old men, aksakals. They took into account relatives on the mother's side of the couple. They studied the degree of kinship. So taking a positive decision, they slaughtered a white mare, announced engagement of the groom and the bride. However, such marriages occurred very rarely. That is why our nation studied very thoroughly the origin of the bride before blessing a couple.
Аттастырған кезде міндетті түрде тегіне қарайды.
Before the engagement, first they studied each other's origin. Then they found out if there was any kinship. That was the first thing to find out. The second issue was to determine the origin. In my opinion, it is very reasonable to have an engagement based on the origin, which is genetical improvement. Clearly, Kazakhs have investigated this matter thoroughly because it was important to find an equal match, to communicate and understand each other well, to share foods, be close spiritually, and make relatives with people having pure blood, soul, and intentions become in-laws. All this was one of the peculiar features of the Kazakhs. A real man has got 3 zhurts, which means kinsfolk, says a Kazakh's proverb. The first kinsfolk is your relatives. The second kinsfolk is relatives on your mother's side, Nagashy zhurt. The third kinsfolk is kainim zhurt, relatives on your spouse's side. These 3 zhurts make the essence of the kinship system. Every zhurt had its own fixed customs and traditions. For example, to give a nephew a spotted fowl, or there was a custom to give 40 goatlings, which still exists nowadays. All these are signs of attention shown by Nagashy, an uncle on the other side to his nephew. Uncles, Nagashy, gave a horse to their nephews born by their sisters. It was a custom in old times. Our nation never offended nephews, pampered them, and treated them with special love. This custom occurred as a result of close friendship between 2 kins.
Мысалы, нағашы дейді. Нағашы деген сөздің өзінің этимологиялық несіне қарасақ,
if we refer to the origin of the word Nagashy, it means true older brother. It originates from the ancient matriarchy. So love of Kazakhs to Nagashy is kind, and their warm attitude to Nagashy probably starts here. As a matter of fact, Nagashy pampered their nephews, respected them in a special way, and treated them with love and care. A nephew's word and wish was a law for them. There is a saying, 40 goatlings for a nephew. All this leads to special kinship relationships. Kazakhs have not got a notion like alienation like other nations. For example, parents could adopt a baby born by their daughter. They considered the baby as their nephew and close relative. Looking more deeply, this is a representative of another kin. But at the same time, Kazakhs felt blood kinship with the person. Looking at its root, all refers to the kinship thinking of Kazakhs anyway. For example, there's your own kin, the relative on your mother's side, and in-laws. A real man has got 3 kinsfolks. Each of them is his relative.
Түбі, қалай қарасаң да, қазақтың рулық санасына кеп тіреледі. Қай жағынан қарасаң да. Мысалы, енді өз руың бар, нағашы жұртың бар, қайын жұртың бар. Енді ер азаматтың 3 жұрты бар дейді ғой. Сонда қайсы біреуі туыс?
Traditionally, Kazakhs treat their in-laws with the most respect. That is why in-laws are new relatives. Grandparents on a mother's side are Nagashy for grandchildren. That is why our nation treated them with special respect and showed them and granted honors. A father of the daughter-in-law was served as sheep's head, a mother the sheep's round part, showing the greatest sign of respect. Parents of the son-in-law were considered as the closest people rather than even the son-in-law. It is seen from the proverb, a son-in-law is for 100 years, a father-in-law for 1,000 years. Among old parents-in-law, there is a custom to revive the in-law relationship again, suyik jhan kurtu. When kinship relationship became distant, 2 families took a decision to marry their children to become closer again. One side gave their grown-up daughter, the other marries their son and accepts their daughter-in-law. So they became sari sui kuda, fully aligned by marriage in-laws.
Ең жақынды қазақ не дейді? Бауыр дейді. Және енді бір өкініш болған кезде.
How did Kazakhs call a close relative? Baur means brother. If you have got sorrow or regret, you have first got pain in your liver. Baur, not on your heart. The blood in your body accumulates in your liver as well. Your liver is the one that cleanses blood and sends it to different parts. It has got a very big meaning. What meat is the most delicious? Is it a sheep's tail fat? Kuyruk mai. It is soft and delicious. You just put it in your mouth and swallow without chewing. That is why parents-in-law are served with the most delicious things like kuyruk baur, a sheep's tail fat and liver. The most important 2 constitute parts. This custom has got a deep meaning. As Kazakhs say, relatives-in-law are from centuries. In this time of military campaigns and battles, a young man engaged to a girl might die. But kinship and in-law relationship was for centuries and ages. Connection does not end at this, as there are nephews, there are children, there are descendants. If you look at all these, you can see the intention of the Kazakhs to keep one more kinship value. Wherever you look, you will come to this anyway.
Құндылықты көксегені осында тұр. Қай жағынан қарасаңыз да соған барып тірелесіз.
All customs and traditions, rituals and beliefs widely spread in the great steppe of all kins, appeared and developed among close relatives, among in-law relatives, uncles on the mother's side and nephews. To become a great nation that preserved kinship customs is a precious aim of every representative of the Kazakh nation.